We are live.
We hope. We'll see how many seconds it takes to get the
Oh,
little
yeah, well,
audio.
whatever. Chris the Crow is waving from the wall, and that's new, the Purple Crown thing. Huh. Oh, that is. To ask Chris what the Purple Crown thing is. And
Yeah.
Mother Wine says, I'm happy to see you, family. And we do have an eyeball.
Glad to be here. Just going to go ahead and throw it out there. Sorry about Monday when you have you and your 10-year-old at home at the house and they're under the weather. Uh, what's the dad to do? And then
Yeah, and with
Richard,
the holiday weekend, I'm not going to be available for like Friday and Monday. So we're going to shoot for, we might try and do the Sansa chapter on Tuesday. And then, of course, we'll try to get back to doing more discussion on Wednesday.
um, yeah, well, Richard had sent a text, and when Carter's at the house, I don't have control over my phone most of the time. So he sent a text
Yeah,
yesterday.
I tried to do it yesterday, but you were busy with stuff and so forth. That's fine.
I'll still do hanging with Carter, but when he has my phone, he don't let me know when I get a text. So I didn't actually see that because Richard called me like,
Hey, deck of cards.
"Hey, deck of cards." But yeah, he tried to call me like 3 minutes till, and I'm like, I didn't get the text. I'm not
Well,
sure
because you
what's
told
going.
me last time if you didn't respond, go ahead and give me a call. So I figured, oh, I'll go ahead and give him a
Yeah,
call.
I appreciate
Maybe
it.
he'll be available, maybe he won't. But
Yeah.
anyway.
So and then it's like, would you want to do the chapter today on Wednesday? And I'm like, no. Last Wednesday we
No, no,
said,
I was fine with that. That made sense to me. I just wanted. That's why I suggested, hey, let's schedule. Since I'm busy with the holiday weekend on Friday and Monday, why don't we shoot for a Tuesday chapter read?
that's fine.
And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. We'll be back Wednesday with another discussion,
Okay.
and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Okay, I got two things I want to start off with, and then you can jump in with any theories in the comments. Um, and they both involve the Tower of Joy. I've said it before to Richard that Ned did not take down the Tower of Joy brick by brick or stone by stone. We're told that Howland Reed can turn uh, is it stone to water,
Yeah.
stone earth to water, and water to earth, or something like that. I say that he can move castles, all that, but I say that he
Well,
turned
they say that you can make castles
Tower of
disappear
Joy.
or something like that. Yeah.
He turned the Tower of Joy into water, and that was what the
I thought
reason
it,
nobody
it
called
might
the
even
Tower.
be a glamour. Like making buildings disappear might just be a glamour.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you brought up last time when you were talking about it. So that's kind of the theory with the Tower of Joy. It's all Howland Reed, whether he turned it to water or it's just a glamour. And it's there was a movie with Alec Baldwin called The Shadow, and they used illusions to make things disappear. And there was a building in the middle of the city and a construction site that the bad guy had made disappear. So it could be like that. The Tower of Joy is still there, but Howland Reed glamored it, and it's nobody can see it now. I mean, birds flying along, smack, and they drop to the ground. Uh, and then the other thing is, there was never Tower of Joy, um, and it all happened at Starfall. The images and the
Oh
memories.
yeah, that could
We're told,
be.
yeah, we're told about the Ashara threw herself from a tower. So we have a mentioning of a tower at Starfall around this time period. Um, but the images that were in Ned's mind could be one of two things, or maybe even more. One, they're planted memories by Howland Reed to cover up something that happened that he either wouldn't go along with or did not need to know about. So the King's Guard standing out front in the Tower of Joy could all be implanted memories, and him having to go back to Starfall to return the sword would explain why his memories pick up at Starfall after something has happened, probably the swap of the babies or whatever's going on, and then it goes from there. But it gives him a false memory of the Tower of Joy, a reason to go to Starfall, and then from Starfall he does whatever he does. But that's where the memory, the implanted memories bring him to, and then he just picks up with real life. Um, and what was the other? Uh, I can't even, or he was in on it, and this is what it is. When you tell a lie over and over and over again, like you embellish on a story from high school, your grand football days or whatever, and it never really happened, but you keep telling the story over and over again, in your mind, those images become real, sort of. So if you're having a fever dream about the Tower of Joy and you've told this lie over and over again, then in your mind, those memories seem real, if that makes any sense. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's the
Yeah,
way.
how many times?
Kirsty Angel said, "Good evening, everyone." Mother Wine says, "I have a crush on Helen Reed. His kids are so awesome."
Yeah,
Doug Card says, "And I showed the Shadow film last week." Ah, nice. Is the Tower of Joy not there anymore? It also crossed my mind tearing the tower down brick by brick could be a reference to Berserkers, and Ned went berserk. Okay, there's certainly all the Jon Snow going berserk kind of stuff, symbolism in
right.
there. So that does seem feasible. It's a
But
good
time wise,
interpretation.
and Ned saying that he tore it down by himself by hand just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I agree with the berserker part when it comes to the Stark blood, but from what we can tell, there's only one time that Ned's been mad enough that it scared Cat. And then we see a little bit of it when he's talking to certain people when it comes to certain subjects, but we don't see anything close to a berserker with Ned that we do with John, the increased strength and all that kind of stuff when certain situations arise. And then the fight in the yard where he gets wrapped on the head, and next thing you know, he's on top of a guy. He's like, I yield. You don't know what yield means? So we've seen the berserker with John, but I don't know if we've
Yeah.
seen it with Ned. But I
Well, that's
like
the
to have
point,
a
though.
report.
But that's part of the point, though, right? Is it's kind of strange that you see a characteristic so strong in John that you haven't seen in Ned, in a sense, right? And so that's why I
That
was
is,
saying that I kind of like that interpretation because it ties John and Ned together and so forth. And anyway,
I
interesting.
like that too. You know, I'm a big Ned John fan, but the wolf's blood that's in Brandon and in Ilyana,
Sure,
if
sure,
Brandon
makes
is
sense.
the father, um, then that would explain probably the the wolf's blood or the berserker or the wolfman imagery that we get with John that we don't really get with Ned. We get a glimpse here and a glimpse there of anger, but and John and Ned are so much alike. They think a lot alike. They act a lot alike. But I don't know if it's a situation that John's been put in that. But I mean, even Ned's at war at an early age. I mean, we should hear something of a resemblance of Berserker from Ned's past at least. So I do like it. I hope it's true because I want Ned to be the father and everything. But my backup for that is Brandon is the father, and Ned married Ashara out of love and out of duty to not let her father a bastard and to honor Brandon type thing. I mean,
Hmm.
because you remember he said it should have been Brandon type situations. I forget the exact wording of it or everything, but I mean, Brandon might have been there first. I mean, you
Well, I
don't
mean, it's
know.
kind of referring to Catelyn there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
and
mean,
Rob
Catelyn,
and
it
Rob.
could be a mirror of Ashara there. I mean, is that
Um, well, Ned did strangle Littlefinger at what he believed was one joke insult.
yes,
Hmm,
yes. Okay, thank you. That is awesome. Mic drop.
that's a good point.
Boom.
Yeah, good example.
In the book, I'm not having the show.
Let's see what else we got here. Sir Robert Strong. Sorry, I'm just looking through the various compendium of theory stuff here.
Yeah. Somebody got some theory you want to talk about in the comments? Go right ahead. And
Yeah,
did Chris
yeah.
verify the Purple Crown?
Both? that's that's uh that's usually the answer with George anyway. But yeah, it's possible that they're both Brandons. Sure, that's a good point. So, but I suspect that's referring to Rob and John
Right.
both
Yeah.
potentially being Brandons, right? Um, so in Game of Thrones animations, young Ned actor is a narrator, and in Tower Joy scene, he says how he dreamed of or wanted to be Arthur Dane, then kills him, and that's the last time he narrates. Old Ned doesn't narrate. Huh. That's interesting.
There's a Game of Thrones animation.
Oh yeah, of course. So you've seen these. Oh, come on, you've seen these. The ones that are the ones that are on the official like DVD releases and things. They put them on YouTube. You've seen them. I know you've seen them. I can't remember what the term is for them that they call them, history and lore or something like that. I mean, they're narrated by the actors of Game of
Black and
Thrones.
white drawings and all that stuff.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We've
Yeah.
seen every.
That's what I'm saying. You've watched these. I know you've watched these.
Yeah. Me and Chris tore those things up, man. I'll go ahead and tell you. But me remembering one specific video,
Sure. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying wait. There's Game of Thrones animations. And the answer is that's what they're referring to the history and lore from the which are on YouTube. To be fair, Sean Bean is way more expensive. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm kind of surprised at how many of them are narrated by the some of the most appropriate actors that are and it might be they may have gotten in the contracts after the first season.
Well, I mean, even if they weren't in the contracts, you look at what they've been brought into, the world that they've been brought into, the popularity, especially with the start of it. I mean, as an actor, unless you're really big,
but they had the motivation to incorporate that into the contracts once it became a big show, right? And so after season one has been filmed and produced, now you're probably not putting that in Sean Bean's contract when you're doing season one, but you start doing history and lore videos after that. And it's big.
Sean Bean has moved on to another project that he could be killed in.
Exactly.
Wasn't it the Frankenstein product after Game of Thrones for him, or is there something in between?
I'm not sure. He definitely did some interesting video. There's some interesting little side videos of him doing Ned and some commercials and things. I don't know if you've seen those.
No, I haven't. I gotta look that up.
Yeah, it's like, is it like a tea or something? I can't remember, but I mean, it's clear that it's. Wow,
hey Chris, what are you talking about with the purple crown? Because you got me and Richard Stump.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Don't make it to when I pick you up. You tell me. You tell me now, boy. I'll ground you.
He's been killed even in the Hitman games. The actors playing Jojen Reed and Viserys Targaryen were in the same episode of Doctor Who. Yeah, and Viserys does. What does he do? The audiobook? Does he do the audiobooks for the some of the Dunk stuff?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. There's another guy on YouTube that Chris, when we go drive, like we drove to Ice Fire Con, we automatically, like both times, have put the Dunk and Egg stories, but it's the guy. The first time might have been the actor. The second time was there's another guy that reads them. That it's an American, doesn't have an English accent or anything, but he does a really good job of reading them. So that's what we listened to. I think this last time we went. 2 years ago now.
So has Ian Glenn only done the? I guess he's only done the history and lore videos. I guess there's nothing else relevant to. Or did he do Fire and Blood? He may have done Fire and Blood. I think Jorah did
Fire and Blood.
Did the audiobook for Fire and Blood.
Well, I might actually listen to that because I can't read it. It's just too much like the history schoolwork from high school.
Speaking of which, Fever Dream, two point of views. Fever Dream, vampires. George, you got it yet?
No, Chris hasn't put it on. I tell him when I pick him up, and by the time we get to the house, because it's a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, he should have it all set up. I mean, he should. Come on, Chris, get with it here. We're just go into the Amazon Music app, click on Library, click on ebooks, and are you doing this on StreamYard or it's StreamYard?
Yeah, this is still StreamYard. I haven't tried trying to do it on YouTube yet. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of research on our little break here. Maybe do a test run on a live stream. just a test run to even, I know Richard's busy, but I've tried to set it up with him on this little break to do a little 5-minute live stream to make sure I can bring him in on the YouTube itself.
Probably a good idea.
Because I don't want to try to do it and then like next Tuesday do it and then it doesn't work out. So
Basically, it looks like a ranking system for comments, says Chris the Crow. Huh, sounds interesting. You need to get him set up as an administrator for admin on YouTube if he's not already on a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So that he can moderate the comments and things.
That'll work.
Yeah, but first get Fever Dream.
Yes, Chris. I'm telling you, you're not getting in the car today until you put Fever Dream on my Amazon Prime stuff. In Amazon Prime?
Yeah, it's the Amazon Music app. So you need to install the Amazon Music app, click on Library, click on ebook, and you get one free ebook a month.
Yeah.
Will do. Well,
yeah, that's what you said last time when I told you to
talk about vampires. We're going to talk about vampires if you don't read the book about vampires.
Yeah, on a non-related note, tomorrow we're actually going to go see is it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow we're going to go see the Jurassic World Rebirth or whatever. Scarlett Johansson. So they're going to wear the Jurassic Park shirts, and I'm going to try to find a dragon shirt. Just because that's what dragons were based on, were dinosaur fossils, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, what's a human supposed to think? I mean, think about the so the biggest thing we got around in terms of land reptiles is the Komodo dragon, right? And the Komodo dragon breath is like filled with bacteria and venom and things, right? And so it makes sense that you're looking at lizards and you're looking at this giant dragon, Komodo dragon, right? Mm-hmm. And you're seeing these giant bones, and you're seeing how much worse the breath of the Komodo dragon is than all the other lizards. Like it's not that big a leap.
They saw them, they got bit, and they go back to the ship, and then the infection sets in, and then they die, and it has something to do with their mouth or breath or whatever they perceive it to be. They take the story back home, then you get these fossils uncovered and tilling the land. Soil.
You know, one of the things I don't like about, I mean, you're talking about Jurassic Park. One of the things I don't like about Jurassic Park is he used transsexual frogs, but it turns out the Komodo dragon, if there's only females around with the Komodo dragon, it will lay the male clone of itself as an egg.
I know that.
You don't need to go away from the reptile family to the amphibians. Literally, female Komodo dragons, if there's no males around, will lay a male clone of themselves as eggs. Like that's well documented. So you don't need to go to amphibians and frogs. And the example they went was males becoming female, right? And whereas again, female large lizards will lay eggs if there's no males around that are the male clone of themselves. Like that's a well documented fact. So you don't need to go to the amphibians.
Well, I haven't read the book, so I wonder. Well, no, that would be something.
Pyramid in the morning, everyone.
Hey,
it's morning for me. It's afternoon for old new dude.
Oh yeah, I'm in South Carolina, so
yeah, Eastern U.S. time.
Daylight. What's another good theory? Somebody in the chat come up with a theory to talk about, or Richard?
Hooded man. What's your theory about the hooded man?
Harwin. I like.
Yeah, that's the Radio Westeros theory. Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah. You pointed them out to me on that one, and I tend to agree. Harwin would be the perfect. He knows everything when it comes to Theon. I mean, it's a really good. I like that theory a lot. Now, granted, there is not a ton of actual supporting evidence that you could just lay out like a detective and hold up in court or anything. But what they pointed out.
Kirsty, I like it. Okay, so the promise me then ties you to the pinky swear, where so Littlefinger is tied to the Tower of Joy and the promise me Ned. Okay, so Lyanna is Lioness. I think Littlefinger is. You think Littlefinger is Howland? Interesting. I don't know if it feels. Well, of course, it could be Glamour, I suppose, but It feels like
Yeah,
that
so
Ned would definitely trust him. If he was Howland Reed, it feels like Ned would definitely trust him. It goes back to the reins. Hartman is not important enough for Theon to remember his name. Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Of course, my favorite name importance theory is that the in the sample chapter we're being told that Davos is back with Osha, right? Because it's implied in Theon's chapter that the specific information used to test whether Arya is real are the two names that Osha would be most likely to remember, right? So it's Osha. Um, Osha was sleeping with Gage, the cook, and was
right.
constantly having her chains adjusted by the smith, right? And so the only people we know that she was really working closely with and really knew the names of well are Gage and Micken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the sample chapter, why would Crowfoot Umber possibly was it Crowfoot? I think it's Crowfoot. Anyway, why would somebody possibly know those two specific names to test Arya Stark to verify that this is really a person from Winterfell, right? And so I really like the idea that George has actually basically told us that Davos is already back, right? And because he disappears pretty early in Dance,
Right.
so he's been gone quite a while, and so for him to be back is
that far. I mean, it's
yeah. So I really do like that theory.
yeah.
Harway, yeah. Okay. Howland and Peter both show the same physical description. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Toodles does say. I mean, he's talking about how small Alan Reed is when he's talking about.
Yeah, because I'm really sold on the on Blue Lemons and Toodles interpretation of who Howland Reed is, right? Which is Shadrick. So we want to run through that a little bit. So
no, on the Howland Reed Peter on the Peter Baelish. I know it's a rabbit hole.
Sure.
I love
Interesting.
rabbit holes. I love new theories. But if you stop and think about this, if all of Littlefinger's actions were setting things up, even though it doesn't look like it, to prepare for the long night, to get these pieces in place. And then even says there are going to be moves that go against
He's stockpiling grain. He's stockpiling grain, and yeah.
There has been a long running theory that the key to surviving the dawn is the veil. I mean, it's surrounded underneath the rock and everything.
I've always been a little bit skeptical of all the Littlefinger is magic type stuff, but it does. There is some reason to believe that. So you're somebody who's interested in how to get ahead. You're somebody who's ambitious. You're somebody who's studying. You're somebody who's spying. You're in a world where lots of people can accurately see the future, right? How long do you realize that some of that's real, right? And clearly, we believe that Dorcas Barris knows these things, and so it does make a lot of sense that he would at some point become aware that there's something
I'm a
to that,
strong
right?
believer that Littlefinger, just like Bran and possibly Euron, with the accident, not the accident, with the injury given to him by Brandon, was visited by Three-Eyed Crow, is either a strong skin changer or possibly a green seer. He does have magic. That's the magic he's using to
I like what Lou's saying here. Just as Daenerys undergoes her metaphorical transformation in the Dothraki Sea, so does Viserion in the Pyramids of Meereen. She displays signs of nesting in the Dragon Tamer. That's interesting. And when you have this concept of sensory deprivation and the darkness leading to awakening the third eye and helping Bran, and I think it goes even better with Bran and his learning to love the dark, right?
Well, I mean, if the dragons are the skin changers, and it's not well, I know there's a theory that it's the dragons that are doing the bonding, not the person.
Well, I think there's some seeds planted that the dragons are the longer lived, more intelligent species, and that basically the Order of the Green Hands theory is that essentially it's skin changing in reverse in terms of the dragon bond, right? Which makes a
Right.
lot of sense. They're the longer lived and supposedly more intelligent species of the two.
Well, the
Right?
same theory for the dire wolves also. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That seems to be at a minimum, it's a peer relationship, and Jojen even talks about that, right?
yeah, and that might
The
just strictly
Jojen
be
actor, the Jojen actor played Peter Pan, which I think was purposely done, and Littlefinger shows lots of Peter Pan parallels. I'm late, says Lady Thistle. Well, welcome. Glad you could make it.
hey, I do like the Peter Pan parallels.
Hopefully someday Lady Thistle will be ready to come on with us and discuss some of her newer theories that she's not ready to discuss yet.
Matter of fact, we probably need to set up
No pressure. No pressure.
no pressure. But hey,
Glad to have you here.
yeah, when we do that test run on YouTube to try to get away from StreamYard because it's $53 a month now, we'll try to see if we can set it up with Lady Thistle. It's like a 5-minute live stream just to set up to see if she'd want to hop on with us.
Danny going through the house of Undying, she's looking into other trees. The visions she sees through the doors are the spirits living or dying in their respective trees. Ah, okay. So the wood can maintain the. Okay, and so they perhaps built doors out of weirwood that contain the hive mind. Oh, that's an interesting interpretation. Oh, I'll be ready
Now,
someday, any day now. Excellent. Just like someday I'm going to put out a predictions wins video. Anyway.
someday I'm going to finish my all-inclusive grand overarching theory for the entire story series because it's not going to be able to be done. It's going to be 30-minute videos.
About the hidden fingers and the
Everything from start to finish.
Mountains equals pyramids equals pyres. Ah, Pyramidion makes sense that Pyramidion would be focused on pyramids and pyres here. Interesting. Okay, and that you could throw volcanoes in there because what is a volcano if not a mountain with a pyre, right?
Yeah, and you got the volcanoes.
Something Preston says that's kind of always bothered me. He keeps saying that there's not enough volcanoes in the story, and I'm like, isn't Winterfell basically a super volcano? Like, the biggest super volcano on Earth is Yellowstone, and it's all hot springs, right? And Winterfell is like surrounded by hot springs. So, because I forgot volcanoes, he said, well, it fits right in.
It wasn't a pyramid. I just forgot it.
It fits right in with those, though. And
oh yeah, definitely.
So anyway, so Winterfell's a super volcano. Harrenhal's a volcano. Dragonstone's a volcano. Right? The 14 Flames are volcanoes. And he's like, there's not enough volcanoes. If you look at the map, I'm like, aren't there just a lot of volcanoes that you're not realizing are volcanoes? And like probably. Well, certainly, it's like I said, Winterfell's probably a super volcano, right? Because it's surrounded by hot springs. It's probably supposed to be like Yellowstone. And then, and wasn't there a
what if it's not the wall that causes
Hardhome? Probably, right? Sorry.
What if it's
Mother
not
Mountains is a volcano? Yeah, I think Mother Mountains is probably a volcano. That makes sense.
Like, what about if it's not the wall falling that causes the nuclear winter? It's the Winterfell eruption.
Another series of volcanic eruptions or something. Yeah, similar to the 14 Flames. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Mother of Volcanoes is a sick name. yeah. Rebirth of fire, the rebirth of the volcanoes. Oh, yeah. Okay, that works. Mother Mountains, Mother Volcanoes. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Man, I hate my memory.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. What were we talking about before volcanoes?
Okay, let's go back up here. Jenny going to the House of Dying. The trees. Yeah, we didn't talk much about the idea of the hive mind being in the wood of the doors at the House of Undying.
What if they altered the doors? Just like the altered doors at the House of Black and White. We are in the East where Shade of the Evening is more prevalent. What if the doors are altered and the kind of door determines what kind of vision she sees?
Yeah, and Pyramidion says in the House of Undying, Danny enters through a set of doors that are black and white. And we certainly have a lot of this weirwood paired with ebony, which seems like, ebony can be a generic term for black wood, and so it sure seems like whenever we see ebony, we should be thinking that it's actually Shade of the Evening.
Yeah.
It's not always a
What
specific tree. It can be generic.
But what if the first door on the right, the way it alternates all the way, she gets different visions? If it's Weirwood Dream, she sees this kind of vision. If it's the Shade of the Evening Tree, she sees a different kind of vision, but it's hard to distinguish which is which, because I don't think we're given color other than the what she walks through. But in the house itself, are we told? I don't think we're told what kind of door she's open.
Definitely, the House of Black and White is the fact that it's made out of weird wood in a city that doesn't seem to have any weird woods and so forth, right? And the idea that there could easily be some weird wood growing under there, especially since there's levels that she's not allowed to go to and so forth.
Now that would be odd if you believe that.
Okay, that reminds me. Okay, sorry. The significance of the door being on the right is because of the location of the Bank of Bravos. It could be It could also be a reference to one of the oldest video games. So there's at the last level of Wizardry. If you play the original Wizardry, the very last level. So it's by a guy named Robert and a guy named Andrew, and so the guy who you're working for is Trevor, which is Robert spelled backwards. The guy you're trying to kill is Wordna, which is Andrew spelled backwards. Anyway, you at the bottom level, Wordna says to you that basically you have no chance. He goes, "So confident am I of this that I give you this clue: Contra Dextra Avenue," and so you're always supposed to either go straight or turn left to get to Wordna. So I don't know. I don't know if George played the original Wizardry or not. It just hit me one time. Oh, wait a minute. The House of the Undying is kind of like Wizardry. It's kind of weird because if you think about it, Piet Pree kind of wants her to get lost in there, right, and get stuck there forever. And yet he specifically tells her, exiting back out, you follow the same rules, and she does it and it works, right? And why doesn't he just tell her, oh yeah, no, you're right, just do it wrong to come back out, because then she'd be stuck there, right? So it's like he's that confident that he's being honest with her. He's so confident that he goes ahead and he doesn't want her to detect that he's lying either. Maybe it could be that he just wants to be honest with her, or it could be that he's just overconfident, like Wordna is. And
he definitely
anyway,
wants her to make it to the Undying. He definitely wants her to make it there.
Yeah, but they specifically discuss how to get back out once you've gotten there, right? And that's my point. Is it's as if he's as overconfident as Wordna, and he's giving her the correct instructions of how to defeat them, right? Because you see what I'm saying? Because he shouldn't be wanting her to be able to get back out.
Right. No, he should.
Well, anyway, the point is,
think about it, the vision before the Undying themselves was a setup. Just the way it was. If it's not for Drogon, she would have fallen for it, and then she makes it to the Undying, and again, if it's not for Drogon, they would have had her. So Piet Pree, that whole situation is just a bit weird. You know what I mean?
Well, of course it is. It's supposed to be. It's Clash. It's Clash. It's the House of the Undying. It's supposed to be.
That man drank too much Shade of the Evening for sure.
Do you think Shade of the Evening have different hive minds, or is it the same? I kind of like the idea that there was a severing there with that. This is the All Hail the Night Queen's theory, right? That we talked about. That there was a severing. Yeah, the shattering the arm of the worm was specifically to break the two hive minds.
I like Shade of the Evening being corrupted weirwoods that are still hive-minded. And I do like the theory of the Armadoran being shattered to stop the corruption. I think we're told specifically that the roots can't grow underwater, so that would stop the Shade of the Evening from making it to Westeros.
She has one more door when she's in the House of Black and White. She goes to the right where she encounters the heart of the Titan of Bravos. Huh. Interesting. I'm not familiar with that interpretation of that.
Yeah.
The whole point of going into the House of Undying is to allow the being controlling Drogon to kill the Titan. Then he was supposed to be a sacrifice. Oh, that's an interesting interpretation. Okay. Quiet Period wanted to give the heart more life. And you could kind of see that if she manages to survive, that he wants her to come out so that he can finish her off or whatever. So it's not necessarily maybe if she manages to survive, then it's likely that they're going to need her anyway, right? In that chapter, it's another long night ending. Etymology for Littlefinger, Peter and Stone, yeah, plus Stone plus Baelish. Demon ties to the rock and the lion's brains. All fox named members. His Littlefinger is clever as a fox and wears fox fur. Maybe he's land clever. And therefore, lizard lions and Peter, Pete, mossy Pete. And we've talked about the fact that there ought to be a Land the Clever potential, or a way to interpret the story such that Land the Clever is still alive and in the story.
Yeah, I said I think it's last time because George was asked about the Night's King, and he said he has just as much chances of being.
I still like the idea that Dario has to be somebody though.
Brand the Builder. So that just tells
I still
me
want Dario.
The story, yeah. Well, I mean,
I still want Dario to be one of these immortals.
Yeah, I think Land the Clever might be the three-eyed crow.
He's made himself a cave, the prince realized, a burrow in the brick. But Viserion had dug himself a hole in them with flame and claw, a hole big enough to sleep in. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what convinced me Viserion is a lane dragon. The cave might be a nest. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Lou. I like that. Mossy Pete of the Bogs. Okay, for Peter. Okay, that's interesting. Dany only made it out because of Drogon. Those blue ghost-like people surround her and start eating her. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely true.
Good point. To me, that tells me that's showing that the dragons are the powerful ones of the two. In the show, they were told that the dragons draw their strength from her in the House of the Undying, but that's not how it's done in the books. And I do think that when we're talking about the mind meld or the green seers or skin changers or however you want to look at it, it's the dragons to the humans, same with the wolves, possibly with both. But yeah, I agree. The dragons are the stronger of the two in a union. The dragon's not fooled at all.
Yeah. So I'm looking through some of these theories, and I'm reminded. I
do like the burrowing dragon. Actually, there might be a clutch of eggs, which I don't know. Are we even told how old dragons have to be before they start laying?
I don't know.
Or is it kind of a chicken reference type thing? I don't know when chickens are able to start laying.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that shocks me is that George specifically tells us in Storm that the dragons at the beginning of Storm, the dragons are like less than a year away from being rideable, and yet everybody's like, oh, he needed the 5-year gap so the dragons would be rideable. I'm like, did he?
It's like, that's what I always thought, but I mean, if that's true,
we read that quote though, and I'm like,
yeah,
he planted the seeds that he didn't need the 5-year gap. I mean, he wanted to be ambiguous and he wanted to leave his options open, which
I think the 5-year gap was to age up his young characters.
Oh, absolutely,
and also have a very long training period for Bran, a training period for Arya,
and we've told you that he kind of implies when he talks about it that he was really saying that it had to be Bran or Arya as the main, the hero that would rule the world, because he talks about, well, if I can't remember what he says, 12-year-old or 14-year-old, something like that, is gonna rule the world, so be it, or whatever, right? So, says permitting. So he was always kind of hinting that that it would be
on the Bran bandwagon. I'm more on the Arya bandwagon. I think she is way more powerful than people think she is. Not to mention the training she's getting. I think the prophecies, a lot of them, especially with Cersei, are talking specifically about Arya, the younger, more beautiful, the Valonqar. I mean, she's been mistaken for boys repeatedly through the story. I think she's going to be the one that kills Cersei. And in killing Cersei, she is the younger, more beautiful, taking away everything. Basically, I forget the exact quote, but it's amazing
how much money got out there when So that there were, casinos in Britain offering, betting on who would rule at the end. And
Mhm.
the problem with that is that there's too many people that knew. So the casino odds before the final season aired were like, if you wanted to bet on anybody besides Bran, you could get really good odds. And if you wanted to bet on Bran, you were just barely going to make any money because
Right.
everybody knew it was Bran.
It's the worst kept secret.
Yeah, because once you have gambling on it, there's too much incentive for people to leak,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I
Um,
don't trust anybody when it comes to money.
the one thing that we really hit upon that I thought was kind of surprising to me during our read is I got more and more sold on the fact that the prince at the gauntlet is Aemon. It's that simple. And what I mean by that is, who's the POV at the Citadel? It's Sam. I'm not at the time when we learned of the Gauntlet, of course. That's obviously Pate, but
Mhm.
who's the primary person who's it's going to be important to? Well, it's Sam, right?
Mhm.
And and the thing is, we're specifically told by Maester Aemon that he had a father like Sam did, and we know that they train the princes to be martial from a very young age. Um,
Right.
And so this idea that he would have been forced to train as a knight is right there in the story, and and he's the only one that's important to Sam. He's the only Targaryen prince that's important to Sam. So it's like people when I remember watching a Preston live stream where he's talking about this, and I'm like, how could you not just say, it's probably Maester Aemon?
And it does make sense though.
I also think I was reading through the stuff, and then something reminded me of that. I also think that the heart in House of the Undying could be tied to cold hands. Oh yeah. We should talk more about hearts. Cold hands, warm heart. Maybe it's the heart of winter being magically manipulated, spelled, cursed. Blue heart tying to cold others in winter. Um, and Kirsty, I don't know if you've heard the Girls Gone Canon thunderclap theory. Thunderclap's the person who originally came up with it, but where it became popularized was by Girls Gone Canon talking about thunderclaps theory. That Cold Hands is in fact the maester who was at Hardhome and then disappeared north of the he's really good with ravens, and he seems to be a biology professor because he talks through the concept of the congealing blood and so forth. So anyway, um,
I
so
like
anyway,
that theory.
I really like, yeah, I really like that theory. Um, but the hearts we should talk about. It's Titan Bravo is it? Oops, what did I do? I wasn't trying to start. I was trying to show it on stage. There we go. That work?
Yeah, I think I messed it up for you, but go ahead.
Okay, we got it. We got it there. Okay. Anyway, yes, the Titan of Braavos is very active. Man, Littlefinger is literally him come again, and he is using Euron as an avatar. Ooh, that's interesting. So I did want to talk about the hearts. So it, it seems kind of obvious, and I guess it is, but I don't know that I hear it talked about that much. But Dany, uh, her first experience with prophecy is when the ceremony where she eats a heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then her most blatant, the craziest before the Forsaken anyway, so the craziest so far published, since that's not even really a published so much, right, is it's a sample chapter. The craziest published chapter in the books is in Clash, which is the House of the Undying, and she destroys the heart, or Drogon does, or she and Drogon destroy the heart, right?
Right.
And so it sure seems like things should come in threes, and she should be destroying the heart of winter with the dragons, and this is the whole, the dragons are here to defeat the heart of winter and so forth, right? It just seems like those
Now,
three
wouldn't the
things
heart of
should be
winter have to
tied
come
to.
south of the wall, or the wall fall for the dragons to go to the heart?
That's a good
Dragons
question.
won't
Does it
pass the
move,
wall. I
or do you have to
understand.
go up there and get it? I think you have to go up there.
Yeah, so the
I think you
wall
have to
has to
actually go
fall.
to it.
Yeah, the magic of the wall has to be broken for the dragons
Ah, interesting. That the real point of the wall is to keep the dragons from destroying the heart of winter.
There you go.
Ooh, interesting.
Well, I mean, we're
Oh
told.
yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, the Maester. Yeah, that's right. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Search
I
by
mean,
some
we're told that
fire.
there were dragons before there were dragons, because you have the dragon battle isle in the old town, which is supposedly before dragons were even in the world type thing. Um, so, I mean, there were dragons back when the wall was built, for sure, no doubt.
Hmm. What is it? Hardhome? Is it the name of the? What's the name of the? Oh shoot! You know what? I think I forgot. You got to turn off. Sometimes you got to do things a little funky to get the War of Ice and Fire search working. Yeah, Hardhome. Okay. Willis. Most fascinating account of Hardhome being found in Maester Willis's Hardhome, an account of 3 years spent beyond the wall among savages, raiders, and woods witches. Willis journeyed to Hardhome on a Pentoshi trader and established himself there as a healer and counselor so that he might write of their customs. He was given the protection of Gorm the Wolf, a chieftain who shared control of Hardhome with 3 other chiefs. When Gorm was murdered in a drunken brawl, however, Willis found himself in mortal danger and made his way back to Old Town. There he set down his account, only to vanish the year after the illuminations were done. It was said in the Citadel that he was last seen at the docks, looking for a ship that would take him to Eastwatch by the sea. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we're talking about. Pyramidion. 7 against 3 pops up time and time again. Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
If my theory that Viserion is female, then she could be the woman with hands of pale white fire in Aeron's vision. Just a random thought. Okay. Interesting. Viserion is called the White Dragon after all.
Yeah.
Okay. The royal dragon, the Grey King, was supposed to hunt down, symbolized by the hound later on. The Grey King slew a different dragon. The real one is hiding, resting north of the wall. Oh, and then there's always our one of our favorite theories, which is that they captured the last ice dragon and that it's powering the wall. It's been trapped and powering the wall.
Well, you got
There's references.
Ice Dragon protecting the heart of winter from Fire Dragon.
And they could be the same dragon, right? That they're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, but the dragon, the Gray King was still a different one. The real one is hiding, resting north of the wall. The wall. What if they're not north of the wall? What if they're under Winterfell?
What if it's the ice dragon that is under the wall, or right?
Yeah.
Literally
it could be. I
literally
mean,
every time the ice dragon is mentioned in the series, it's either at the wall or hidden, or the wind at the wall is the breath of the ice dragon, or there is one exception, right, which is the ice dragon is the old friend of Jon Snow, but
right.
but if you're north of the wall, you follow the ice dragon's tail to get to the wall. If you're south of the wall, you follow the ice dragon's eye to get to the wall. So you're always following the ice dragon to get to the wall.
Wall, yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree that when the wall falls, there's going to be an ice dragon.
Or Val could bond with Viserion, right? Of course, the deck of cards is probably familiar with Triplet Targaryens, and we've discussed the fact that Val is probably short for Valeria for multiple reasons, but one of which is that the wife of the main character in the Book of the New Sun is named Valeria. I suspect it's the Frostfangs and the dragon under Winterfell is trying to get at it. I suspect it's in the Frostfangs and the dragon under Winterfell is trying to get at it. Okay. Interesting.
I'm looking at something.
You looking something up?
Yeah, I remember somebody saying something that there was imagery, and then in the imagery there is an extra dragon, and I could have swore it was in one of the books, but I don't remember which book it's in. One of the right now I'm looking through
Okay.
the License of Fire,
Okay.
but the
Yeah, there's definitely clues. George definitely has his options open as far as there being more than 3 dragons. That's for freaking sure, right? He's definitely planted some seeds.
The imagery, I think, has the 3-headed dragon, and then there is another single dragon. I want to say it's a two page fold There's a three-headed dragon, and then on the corner of the upper page there's a single dragon, which I want to say was theorized that because I don't the one that found it. I watched the video. I can't remember when it was, but that single dragon is the ice dragon that we say is in the wall.
Okay, exactly, Pyramidian. Titans tied to Lannister naming, and Bravos is all stone. Peter equals stone, and the hermit prophet told Littlefinger's dad he'd be a great man when he was a boy. A great stone beast took flight. Ooh, that's an interesting interpretation. Absolutely. I'm starting to see the pattern, says Pyramidian. Okay, okay,
Well,
that
if you
makes a lot
stop
of
and
sense.
think about it, everybody assumes that the stone winged beast or whatever the phrase is, like, well, that's a dragon. Well, then why didn't Danny call it a dragon? If it was a
Well, but
dragon,
then you've
Danny
got
had dragons. She would have said, "Hey, there's a stone dragon there," but it's not.
but she does the same thing with the rose, though, right?
The
During
blue
the
rose in the
vision,
wall.
she calls it a flower, but when she describes it to Jorah Mormont, she says it's a blue rose, right? Well, we don't know that. We know that Jorah calls it a blue rose after she's told him the vision.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Okay.
George
We know that
being.
she, during the vision, calls it a blue flower.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that after she's briefed Jorah, he calls it a blue rose.
Right.
So, for whatever that's worth.
I mean, and we think the blue rose is not referring to John, in which they're referring to
It's
Val.
Val or Danny. Yeah. And Danny might even make the most sense, but Val would make a lot of sense too. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing: for Danny and her dragons, or one dragon in particular, to destroy the heart of winter, which should end the cycle of the long nights, because we've said it before. This is not
Right. Sure.
there's been many over the years, and the two people playing the two great things playing the game is just using what's available for them to use, whether it's animals, trees, all that kind of stuff. For her to get to the heart of winter, she has the vision where she's at the trident. There's Robert's army on the other side with their black ice armor, whatever it is. So there's going to be a big giant battle for Danny at the trident, and then after that battle, it should be not smooth sailing, but that if when she wins battle, I don't think she's going to lose it. She's going to win that battle. Then she can perceive the rest of the way. The wall's down already. The dragons can go north, and just like they were talking about with the heart of winter, then she can destroy the heart of winter, which ends the endless cycle every how many thousand years that the battle for the dawn is waged. So I mean, and what is it? Mortal Kombat movies. It's how many years between Mortal Kombat's the 100 years or whatever. They have to win 10 times consecutively for them to actually win the whole thing type situation. Maybe it doesn't matter who wins; they have to win repeatedly, 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 repeatedly for it to finally be done. Or if you have a heart of winter, you should have a heart of summer. And whoever destroys the opposite's heart first is the one that wins the whole Game of Thrones for the planet.
As we talk about this, I'm starting to wonder if the Titan was freeing himself via Drogon's infiltration in the House of the Undying, of course. Yeah, there's definitely this concept. I think that's kind of the memory and sorrow of Thorn thing too, right? It's this concept that it's. Oh, that reminds me. The Pia and Harrenhal. Sorry, in my last, I started listening to the audiobooks of Book of the New Sun, and Harrenhal really reminds me of the castle that Baldanders is building. So Baldanders is the giant in the story, and he's building a castle. And when Severian gets near that castle, and when he's actually brought to it, is when they send a naked serving girl to serve him as a slave named Pia.
Man, George is not a gardener; he's a thief.
Anyway, sorry. I was going to say that in terms of memory, song, and thorn, and things like that, it's almost a trope of this idea that there's this captured evil spirit that convinces the people to release it, right?
What was it last week? Somebody said somebody defeated the Titan of Bravos.
Kind of like the
Um,
dragon escaping Winterfell when it burned. Yeah, yeah, like the concept of the three-eyed crow being the dragon trapped under Winterfell and convincing them to release it. Yeah, sure. From the Thor to Greenhand likes. A lot of these
I've never
character
heard
names
that.
are representing locations. Yeah, and in the case of Pia, it seems like it's a reference. Well, it's almost certainly a reference
Theme,
to
theme.
the
That is
giants
the
building the
convenient
castle.
word to
Uh,
describe it. Themes is not the
yeah,
correct word
yeah,
here.
yeah. It's
Our
almost it's almost
Gardner
it
White
almost
hat.
has to be.
Thief.
It almost has to be the it almost has to be a
Still,
reference to
still the
it.
Black Knight from Marvel Comics. I mean, he's still all kinds of stuff from Tolkien to Lovecraft to Wolf. I mean, he's a thief.
I looked into the etymology of the Bloodstone Emperor paragraph with the Amethyst Empress who cast her down and slew her. It was a way of saying shedding or taking of skin, tying to snakes in a sense. Oh yeah, that's another thing I saw in there. There is some wearing of skin. So that the aliens there was actually aliens in the Book of the New Sun, and especially at that castle, at Balnir's
Mhm.
castle, and there's other times they appear too. But they wear human faces as masks. Um,
All right,
speaking of,
that's it. Roose Bolton, alien confirmed.
no, it's the House of Black and White. Is my point. So
Uh,
the House of Black and White is in fact the aliens from Book of the New Sun.
well, I mean, Arya's not an alien, so I mean, but it's the technology that the
Yeah, no,
aliens
but
have.
it's a reference to that. It's a reference to the way
He's telling the whole story. He's
the
patchwork
P's
everybody else's
point to
stuff, and
Penthus, I suspect. Yeah, and in fact, Severian at the beginning of the story when he's so I've talked about the beginning of the story and how he's kicked out and forced to go north past an impossibly tall wall. That if you go by the description up close, it's 700, 800 feet tall. If you go by how far away can view it, it's 3,000 feet tall and so forth. Well, right right before that happens, he's imprisoned for betraying his guild, and then they give him, even though they're clearly they've fallen on bad times and stuff, they give him this sword that's like the most valuable thing in the world, which they for some reason still had, even though they were.
so,
and
so
anyway,
light brings dawn.
long claw basically,
Okay,
and, and the sword breaks in the story at Baldur's castle actually, but
like the broken sword and Lord of the
yeah, it's
Rings.
the broken sword thing. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, uh, shapeshifters
Does
are active in the
anybody
story.
remember?
Absolutely.
This is for the chat, especially the newer people. Last week, I want to say somebody. It might have been last week. Somebody said something defeated the Titan of Bravos. I can't remember what was said, but
Well, but they
uh,
were kind of talking about that here, and maybe the Titan being captured and in the House of the Undying and so forth.
they specifically mentioned something or somebody defeating the Titan of Bravos. My memory sucks. I just remember something to that effect. I just can't remember who said it or what it was.
So MM characters are tied to Tyr, and the Tyr characters are tied to Tyrosh. Yeah, maybe. I actually think that he's actually doing two different things there. I think Tyrosh is supposed to refer to the city with the blue eyes in our world, and then whereas the Tyr characters I think are tied Tyr, the god of laws and sacrificing the right arm for justice. I don't know, and it could be a blend of the two. That's certainly possible.
I
The
always get
shadows.
confused. Always remember
That's
Tyr
usually
as
both with
the god of
George.
war. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's,
I
it's
get
usually
Tyr
both with
lost.
George. There's the city is also known for the blue dyes in our real world too, though, right? The shadows of the trees are dancing. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely like the dance. The shadows are here to dance. The shadows are here to stay. I need to
Well,
go back
shouldn't
and
the
watch
shade of
last
the
week's
evening
shows
be
again.
the
Thanks for the tip.
shadows of the former Weirwoods?
Yeah, maybe. We're gonna have to wrap up here pretty soon, but I need to go back and watch last week's shows again. Thanks for the tip. Thank you for
Yeah, we
for
appreciate
being
that.
here and appreciating us and going back and yeah, if we can,
We
if it
appreciate the
stimulates you to
old
come up
blood
with new
and we
stuff,
appreciate the new blood for sure.
absolutely,
Definitely. It
absolutely.
makes that was the whole 5 years ago. I started my channel. I'm over 100 subscribers. Yay! It only took 5 years. But the only reason I said it at the beginning of every one of my or the end of every one of my videos. I don't care if you share. I don't care if you like. It's the comments. It's the continuation of a conversation that is extremely hard or one-sided to have by yourself. So
Yeah,
I
it's nice
appreciate the
to,
comments. I
absolutely
appreciate
nice to
the
get some new
conversation.
ideas. And
Yeah,
if
I mean,
Amethyst Empress was we want you to spam kind of, right? We want you to throw out all your ideas so we can riff on them here. If Amethyst
yeah.
Empress was a chimera with absorbed twin, two sets of DNA, if she died and had, we didn't talk about enough about the Amethyst Empress comment before. Sorry about that. If she died and had second life brought back, absorbed twin could have cast her down and stolen her skin. Ooh, interesting
Oh,
concept.
I like that.
And you are welcome to spam us with ideas. Sorry if we don't do enough on some of these, and I really do think it would be nice to talk some more about the Amethyst Empress ideas. We may have to put that at the top of the list for next time here. What if Bloodstone was the absorbed twin? Then Bloodstone would still appear as Amethyst with purple eyes. Ooh, interesting. Like the video. Yeah, George is definitely doing something with the chimeras and the second heads and so forth. Oh,
Tyrion
there's
cannot
a
be the only one in the story.
Typhon. Typhon is the guy with two heads in the Book of the New Sun, and he was basically the king of Earth when Earth kind of had its downfall, and Severian's going around being Jesus and accidentally resurrecting people and stuff, and so Severian accidentally resurrects this god of Earth, essentially, who's this two-headed guy who's got this second head, who's actually kind of talking to Severian and telling him what to do, but it's kind of subtle. But anyway,
I keep thinking of the giant in the Giant Slayer movie that they made with the giant that had the head. That I mean, that's all pops in my head.
anyway, there's a character in Typhon he was absolutely like basically the god king of Earth before the Earth kind of fell out of favor with the universe, and it was like this central hub, because this is a dying Earth story way out in the future, right? And so it had been great, and he had been in charge, and somehow he's wound up. So he's the one that has like carved his version of Mount Rushmore in the Andes, basically, because it takes place in South America largely, and it's funny because there's so much Greek and European stuff that people recognize, and so many of them don't know the South American myths and things, and so some of them are like convinced that it's actually taking place in like Greece, and Greece moved over there, and it's like there's tons of South American stuff. It's just that you don't know that stuff, and neither do I for the most part. But anyway, the point is, Gene Wolfe and George know more than most of us do. Anyway, I'm way off topic. We're over on time.
History
So.
guy that does history stuff on shows and
Uh-huh.
everything. That was breaking down the references and the inspirations for a lot of stuff in the Song of Ice series. Is David something? I can't remember what his but that means
Yeah, something like
British.
that. That sounds right.
It's
Check out
pretty good.
the Chet prologue. He has something under his skin. We'll do um, via Googling Greek mythology. Typhon was a monstrous giant and the youngest child of Earth. Yeah, he's definitely a giant with two heads in the story of Earth.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the underworld's Tartarus. He was the ultimate for Zeus facing his quest to rule the world. Yeah, and of course he has his big showdown with him. It's actually before his showdown with Baldiners. I think it's right before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Pyramidion in the Game of Thrones animations, born in the cave, has worms or cordyceps under his skin and his face. Most people would miss it. It's very sneakily done. Oh, that's interesting. One city
Okay.
for the TV show. Interesting. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the history and lore videos. They should be on YouTube, I believe. Let's wrap
Where's
up.
the brand stuff at? Go back.
The which
The
stuff?
brand comment about the stuff under his skin. Does it say where?
Game of Thrones. Bran in the cave has worms
Okay.
under his skin. So that's probably. I mean, I guess at some point they must talk about Bran at
Okay.
the.
They're planning the wedding to a tree, so the
Yeah.
cordyceps. Yeah, I like that. I might
All right.
I might have to go back and read that real quick too.
We need to wrap up.
Yep. I know. I do apologize. It's an hour. Maybe one of these days we'll set an evening or afternoon when we can do more than an hour
Yeah, we did that
to have.
once before with Guy.
Yeah. Yeah, because he couldn't make our lunch hour situation,
Although
but
he has made them once or twice too.
yeah, it just all depends on what he's got going on. But
Sure, sure.
all right,
That's without any of us.
everybody, thank you. Old blood, we appreciate it. New blood, we definitely appreciate it. Yeah, he hasn't wore that shirt in a while, so he had to get it in here today.
Yeah, we haven't done Danny in a while, but we will.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, we're not doing Friday. We'll celebrate. I'm going to the movies tomorrow, see some wingless dragons. And not doing Monday, but we're shooting for Tuesday for the Elaine chapter, and then Wednesday again will be theory, and then next Friday
Friday
will
will be
be
the last Elaine chapter in Feast. And
feast.
then theoretically, if we were somehow managed to stay on schedule, which doesn't usually happen, but if it does, then we would shoot for. I think the plan would be to go ahead and do the Sansa sample chapter for wins, because that's the
Yeah,
one
I
that
think we
makes the
should.
most sense to
All of
do.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's the
set.
one that makes the most sense to do.
Yeah,
Right with the
I
House of the
agree.
Worm if you haven't already. Yeah,
All
House
right.
of the Worm is another George one. Let's get him to read Fever Dream first, though.
Yeah, I actually have the graphic novel or the comic books for the House of the Worm. It's odd,
Oh,
that's for sure for me. But
all
all
right.
right, y'all have a safe holidays. We hopefully will see y'all back Tuesday. Have fun, take care, and be good. Bye.
Have a good one.
Encourage you.
Bye.